once again, before I bring Garry Cobb up here, I'm going to make a point to you here. Today, on March 13th, that football team would be lucky to make the playoffs. And the money that is being thrown around, dude, it's not so much the Hargrave $22 million deal. That's insane. The Eagles had 3 years, $51 million on the table for him. 49ers parachute in and give him 60 guaranteed at 20. You know, he's the third highest paid DT in the league now. The deal's not that deal. It's the TJ Edwards $7 million deal per year to Chicago. If you're CJ Gardner or you're Bradbury, you're sitting here doing this. Why in the world would I not want to get out there in the open market and see what they'll give me? CJ and Bradbury are better players. Sayamalo is going to get gargantuan money. Let's bring our friend Garry Cobb in. Garry, I mean, you know, I said this in the last hour, and I'll say it again. This team was not built for longevity. It was a one-year build. 18 potential free agents. There's a chance, Garry, they could lose 9 starters.
Wow.
Friday.
Well, you know, just before, you know, as we closing in on the Super Bowl, and I think a lot of people start looking at things closer to realize, yeah, they needed to win the thing. I mean, because they were not going to be the same team when it came back. In fact, they weren't even going to be close to being the same team. And so it's kind of hit us. And you start seeing that, you know, the money that's flowing around. You know, I mean, do I blame the guys? Go out, man, go get your money, man. You know, because you don't know how long you're going to play. You know, later for all that, you know, especially you talk about, you know, a guy like Hargrave is 30 years old. You know, I mean, you get an offer like that, you got to go ahead and get it. And what is San Francisco doing? Look at San Francisco. They're trying to do the same thing. They don't have to pay the quarterback position. We're going after it right now. And, you know, that is really been the plan of a number of teams that have won it all. I mean, they have gone in aggressively, going after, you know, stacking the team with talent. And now, you know, people are going to walk. The whole thing is, you know, I thought they were going to be able to re-sign like TJ Edwards. He's a guy who I thought they were going to be, you know, if they wanted to re-sign him.
$7 million, Garry. Yeah, Garry, $7 million per year.
I know.
And then they turn around and they sign Edmonds to a gigantic contract so they signed 2 linebackers, and they just gave this guy $50 million guaranteed, 4 years, $72 million.
Yeah.
The money that's out there is insane.
It is flowing, you know, but we kind of knew, you know, I kind of knew it was going to be flowing though some. And, you know, if somebody wants somebody, you know, they can be aggressive. And the whole thing with CJ, though, I mean, with TJ, dude.
Right.
You know, I mean.
No, I think, Garry, I think he's good.
Yeah.
But, like, exceptional, I'm like, I think he struggles in covering.
Well, you know, in today's game, because, you know, as really a linebacker, you got to be able to play pass coverage. You got to be able to defend. Even you're talking about defending wide receivers within a box, and of course tight ends. You got to be able to defend tight ends and running backs. And you figured that now he did a good job last year, but
he didn't.
You figure, you know, people were going to try to go after him. They were going to try to get him isolated to where we're going. Is he a good enough athlete to cover this running back in space? Can he cover this tight end in some space? And that's where his challenge is at. I mean, the thing is, though, the kid is smart. I saw him, and I thought he did a great job with his understanding of the game, being able to anticipate, hey, this guy's got to go outside, you know, being able to figure it out and utilize his mind to make up for what he might lack with the quickness and the foot speed. So I thought he did a good job, but people are going to try to get him isolated, because if you look at a defense, you say, hey, we can get our running back against him one-on-one in space.
That's what Kansas City did.
Yeah.
Kansas City did that in the Super Bowl. Let me go down some of these other topics here. Let's do some good news here. Kelsey coming back what does that mean for the roster? And in your opinion, again, just the impact that he has coming back this coming season?
Well, it's huge because, he does a lot more than just playing the center position, because a lot of times you got to make decisions on what they're doing with the blocking scheme, sliding, which way they're going to slide, being able to decipher. And he's like having a quarterback doing that, because he's got the experience. He can sense a look. He knows what the other team is getting ready to do, because a lot of the defensive coaches, he knows them. He knows their habits. He's already played against them. He's a guy who's a student of the game and everything. And it's like having two quarterbacks out there. And he really helps Jalen a lot. See, because Jalen doesn't have to be thinking. If anything, he's going to let him know, hey, this is where they're probably coming from. They're coming from this side. And he's going to be able to let him know, so he can be looking at the coverage and be thinking about what he's going to do, where he's going with the ball. Whereas with the blocking, which a lot of times that's the quarterback's job too, is decide on what to do blocking wise. Jason helps him with that a lot. So that's weight off of his back, and it's huge. I mean, and then plus, I'm amazed at what he does strength wise, but what he does getting out on sweeps and all different types of things where you never see centered. Man, there's never centered was doing all that, man.
No, what he does and how athletic he is, and when you look at him, you'd never think he's that guy. But man, but
when you find out a little bit about his history, though, the fact that he was a linebacker. See,
okay, so he has some athleticism in the background.
That's right.
Kelsey being a former quarterback, Travis Kelsey. So you see that those guys were playing different positions, and it's benefited them. All right, Gary, what do you do with Darius Slay? $26 million dead cap hit. And here's what I just told these guys. I talked to Drew Rosenhaus, and Robert Bailey works with Rosenhaus. He's a Hurricane, so he kind of works with them. And this is what those guys told me. The Eagles want to try to restructure a deal, but this is what Drew said.
Yeah.
Why would I, in the final year of my contract at 32 years of age, allow the Eagles to restructure a deal so they could easily move me to some team like the Texans? And they want some assurances that they're not going to be moved to some psycho team. Now, the Dolphins, the Jets, or some other teams that potentially they could have a chance of winning. Yeah. Rosenhaus is a little apprehensive about restructuring the contract because it makes it easier for them to move him. I just wanted to throw that in there for your answer.
I could see, I can understand. I think that's a good move because I could see the Eagles wanting to move him. I could
get draft picks.
Get draft picks. They could be thinking, hey, we're going to go ahead. We're going to go with these young kids. We're going to go with a young defense. We're going to be sitting in, double zone, too deep. And we're not going to ask as much of our corners, from a man-to-man standpoint. But, so I could understand them not wanting to take that kind of a cap hit with one guy. And they probably realized that, he's not the player he was. I don't know that he can have a hand and really have make big plays throughout. I don't think they can depend on that from him. So I could see them saying, hey, if we get the right offer, we are interested in moving him. But, they're all playing the game. The fact that they're saying, hey, you can go out and get your deal, that's a way of saying, if we got the right offer, we would trade you.
But, Gary, don't you agree with this, that Slay's leverage is not his play? It's the cap hit of $26 million that is his leverage. And right now, this comes down to being moved, whether it's money and where. So if, to me, I think there's a strong indication, Gary, to me, that the Eagles are more willing to move him and wanting to get those draft choices because they see what Kansas City did by putting those two rookies at corner.
Yeah.
And you've got always this out there, right? You got to pay Hurts. You got to work on that contract.
Look,
I mean, that's got to be a factor in this.
They probably have, these guys, they all got them on the board. In the priority that they see, we got to have this guy. Slay is not up there high. They're saying, well, we got to have this guy. No, I don't think he's up there like that. So for that reason, I think if they had the opportunity to trade him, I think that they would be interested without a doubt. And I think he's got to know that. He's got to know that they would be interested in moving him. And that's why, his agent, is I think made the right move in saying, look, we're not going to put ourselves in a position where it's easy to move us because we think you would be willing to. We know that he's getting up there in the years and everything. And we know that, you guys might be willing to, play with a younger group because you're going to need younger guys in there anyway. They're going to have a certain number of young guys playing on their defense. We all know that.
Garry, how about this one here? Bradbury and CJ. Would you entertain coming back, or would you now, with the money that's being thrown around, agents are in their ears going, look, they gave Hargrave 3 years of $51 million offer. That guy just signed for $84 million over 4 with 60 guaranteed, which means this. He got more guarantees than the entire structure of the deal the Eagles had on the table for Hargrave. For CJ and Bradbury, these guys here were 1-year mercenary guys. They have no loyalty to the Eagles. They balled out.
Yeah.
They gave you the hometown discount. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Garry, they want to get paid now for it. And rightfully so. CJ especially, get this. CJ made $836,000 last year. He's going to get $15 million on the open market.
I mean, he could. He could. He should. I think he's a valuable player. I think that especially the way you could utilize him, because he has the ability to play man-to-man, because he can tackle, because he's a guy, who can do pretty much whatever you want him to do. You don't see many defensive backs who have that type of versatility. And with that, I think that you could do a lot of things with him if he could stay healthy. Now, he's got to stay healthy for you. But you could do things where you could really mix stuff up. I mean, because you could even let him blitz some. You could put him in a position where they don't know what you're doing because he can cover man to man. And he can just cover a guy, or he could be blitzing, or he could be playing safety for you. So whatever you want him to do, you really don't usually find many defensive backs that have that type of versatility. Now, I don't know who's high on him. I know the Eagles should be, but you know how this thing gets. It's funny. You know how it can work where.
But Garry, I didn't think anybody would pay T.J. Edwards $7 million.
Yeah, I mean,
you pay that guy $7 million, and then you look at Gardner Johnson or Bradbury, and you go, I don't know, man. This league is This league's a passing league, and those two guys. I mean, look, see the Hargrave, Garry. To me, I don't know if I really mind the Eagles. I'm not paying $22 million for a defensive tackle.
You can't. The Eagles cannot do that.
I'm not doing that either. However,
yeah,
that's a money position, these corners. And man, I mean, do you think they sign one or both these guys, or do you think they lose both these guys?
I would say they're probably going to lose both.
Me too.
I think they're going to lose both because I look at them, and as you said, this is a throwing league. It's a passing league. And I think that if somebody, with Bradbury, you see where, he's a pro's pro. I in the locker room listening to him, he's smart. He studies. He's really good for the other young guys to have around because he's a pro. He's prepared for the game. He could have some fun and laugh and everything. But you see, this is his job, and he knows he's studying every guy. You ask him about a player, man. He's the other guys in the league, he remembers, hey, I played against him.
Just some breaking news here. It looks like Jesse Bates, the safety from the Bengals, has signed a $16.5 million per year deal. I mean, if you're Gardner Johnson,
wow.
Garry, why in the world would I was a co-NFL leader in interceptions.
Well, they got to get the offer, and I don't know about his agent. A lot of times these agents play roles too. So, but I think that talent-wise, he will get somebody's going to want to pay him. I think, because for what I saw of him just last year with the ability, what he can do, he like I said, he's not crazy about tackling, but I saw that he can tackle if he really wants to. He can tackle, and we know that he can play man to man. He's got great ball skills. Like some safeties, they can be in position and knocking balls down or balls hitting them upside the head. Kid can catch. So he's going to make plays if you put him out there and get him in position. So I think that there's going to be somebody willing to pay him some big bucks. And, if his agent's got some sense, and he got to doing the job, I think he's going to be able to find somebody where he's going to get up, in the 15 million range.
Two last questions for you here. Garry, do you agree last year's team that Howie put together, it was a lot different than the 17 team in this aspect? When you bring in so many free agents, it's one thing to be, and I don't know how you dealt with it, but when you were drafted by the Lions versus the other teams that you went to, I probably think that the player always has more of a sense of not an obligation, but communication. Maybe because you were a homegrown guy. These guys were one-year mercenaries. They came in here with no loyalty to the organization. And when you have that kind of dynamic, they're looking for life preservers right now with cash bags tagged on. They're not looking for what the team was going to be building over the next 3 or 4 years. That was my contention. This was not a team that had a lot of loyalty. They loved playing with one another. And I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying, hey, that's old news now, man. 2023 is about my money.
Well, when you look at where these guys are in their careers, you look at, CJ. He's played in New Orleans for a while. The kid hasn't really made any money. You got to see what your teammates are making. He's got to say, hey, man, I got to make some money now. I'm through. I want to be friends with everybody and everything. That's why I think he assumed that he's out of here. He's assuming that. Now, I think he'll probably get the right offer, but, we'll have to wait and see. When I think about some of the other guys on the roster, guys are going to try to get their money. There's no doubt about it. And you're not going to sign guys that are coming back to later on when they find out there's no money out there. So it's going to take a while. So right now for the next while, most of the offseason, you're not going to sign those guys that you wind getting for really good low price. You're not going to get them till the end of the whole thing near the start of training camp.
But Bates potentially going to Atlanta on that deal. Gardner Johnson then to Cincinnati to replace him at $15 million.
But Cincinnati though, man, Cincinnati.
You got Joe Burrow there.
Yeah,
I know you're going to be in the playoffs.
No, what I'm saying is, hey, I think Cincinnati's a great place, but will Cincinnati pay you though?
No.
Cincinnati got to show me that they got to step up to the plate. They got all that talent in there.
No, they got to pay Burrow in the offseason here too.
That's what I'm saying. And I got to see what they're going to do because they have been a team that just, they wouldn't want. They wouldn't want to pay him. So
no. Mike Brown's got them alligator arms when it comes to reaching for his wallet.
Hey, we know. Time we see that logo, we know, man, these guys don't pay anybody. They don't want to pay anybody. So we'll see if he does or not. But I think there are other teams that would definitely be interested in a talent like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I think he's a special talent. And I think that he'll wind up going somewhere else. I could not see the Eagles being able. I think it would be good if they could, but I don't think they're going to be able to re-sign him.
Okay. And I left the last one for the most difficult one. If you're Jalen Hurts, you're sitting back and you're watching all these stiffs get all this money, man.
Wow.
Hey, Garry, guess what? He's making money not even opening his mouth.
Yeah.
But when you do this, I made the two comparisons. Are you sure after one season that Jalen Hurts is going to do what Patrick Mahomes, Orlando Brown just is being reported that he's leaving because why? You're paying the quarterback $500 million. You lost Honey Badger. You lost Tyreek Hill. That guy still won a Super Bowl. Are you sure you're going to be in a position where your quarterback elevates your team? Or are you going to be the Cowboys where you're going to have exodus of player after player because you paid a guy? That's where the Eagles are right now. You're either going to be one or the other.
Well, this is where, we're going to find out about, Howie. Now, I will say.
And Jalen.
Yeah, and Jalen, you're right. The thing, I have a history, though, with Howie. Howie has been able, when it came to monetary things, he was able to get the job done. He's been able to do that. But this time is a special time. He hasn't been in this kind of situation, even though he was here with Wentz. He paid Wentz. He paid Wentz. So I think he's going to be able to work it out, being that he's had my experience with Howie. He's been able to work out the dollars. He's always been able to do the financial part of it. So I will say that he's going to be able to do it, but I'm definitely interested in how this whole thing plays out because, man,
dude,
woo,
this
you're
is
talking about some money, man.
I can't wait till Wednesday at 4 p.m., man. I can't wait to see how this thing plays out. I can't wait to talk to you next Monday, man. What a week this is going to be, man, for the Eagles and for the NFL. The money. Hey, Gary, get this, man. Yeah. We should go back to our moms and go, man, why couldn't you wait?
That's
like a couple decades to have us, man. Hey, man. Hey, wait a minute, Gary. TJ Edwards is no Garry Cobb, and he got $7 million.
Hey, listen to this.
You played 12 years.
There's a young lady upstairs. She always, they didn't treat you right. Whatever. Look at you. They didn't treat you, because what we were making back then, And I'm going, you were really worried about me, huh?
Gary, I can't wait till next week. Have a great week, my friend. Thank you for doing this.
All right, you too. Have a good one.
You got it. The great Garry Cobb. Don't forget Fox 29. Do me a favor. We are going to hit on so much, and I got a post-Combines draft, mock draft. I'll do that at the top of the hour. I want to hit on some of the stuff that we hit on with Garry Cobb. Hit the like button.